the Holy Roman Empire. Gradually the name of Christianity spread among the peoples of Europe without its master's spirit. The name Christian became popular. In the days of King Charlemagne, the title Holy Roman Empire was established. The significance of the title is illustrated by a famous picture in the chapter house at Florence, Italy. It shows the emperor and the pope seated side by side upon a throne, and descending from each by steps the various officers of the empire. On the emperor's side, generals, etc., and on the pope's side, bishops, the clergy, etc. Some claim this as a public acknowledgement of the marriage of the professed Virgin of Christ to civil power, in the book of Revelation styled harlotry. The basis of the alliance was the doctrine which then obtained that the second coming of Christ as the Messiah to rule the world for 1,000 years was thus fulfilled. The claims set forth were that it was the divine intention that Christ should be represented in the earth by the papacy, and that his government should be carried on through earthly princes. This condition of things prevailed in Europe for centuries. In the 16th century, the Reformation movement sprang up. These daughters of the Church of Rome married earthly power and started holy empires of their own. This entire theory and its system received a severe blow when Napoleon Bonaparte took the Pope a prisoner to France. The spell of sacerdotal rule was broken. In September 1870, Victor Emmanuel took possession of Rome, a fatal blow. Bible students are generally agreed that church and state union is contrary to the spirit of the Bible, an error of the Dark Ages, that the Church of Christ is not to reign with the princes of the earth, nor to be married to them, but to wait for her marriage till the second coming of her Redeemer, to be united with him in the first resurrection. Then she shall reign with him forever. Crusades and Crusaders. The name Christian had become popular in Europe. Nearly everybody was recognized a Christian unless he disavowed it and claimed to be a Jew. The drowsy spell was broken by what some would term a fanatical outburst of fervor, which claimed that Christians should wage war on the Turks, Jews, and others. The Crusades made their mark in history. Under the spirit of the time, thousands of the noblest of their day traveled hundreds of miles by land and sea to fight for the cross against the crescent. It was considered specially grievous that Jerusalem was under Moslem control, and thousands of lives and fortunes were spent in crusades to deliver the Holy Sepulchre from the infidel Turk. From our present-day standpoint and clearer perception of things, people generally style the Crusades an outbreak of foolishness, wasted effort, manifest ignorance, and bigotry. But perhaps Christians today have something equally foolish and irrational. The human mind will be active in some way. The folly of others is easier to recognize than our own. Someday it will be owned that Christendom today is as foolish in some respects as in the days of the Crusaders. Do not the great kingdoms of earth style themselves divisions of Christendom, Christ's kingdom? Are they not building great dreadnoughts that cost a fortune for every discharge of their cannon? Are they not drilling vast armies and equipping them with costly implements of war? For what purpose? Either because they have evil designs upon the other so-called Christian nations, or that they distrust the others. How foolish this shall yet appear. How much better it will be when the Word of God is fully accepted, and when its spirit of justice and love will govern the world. Then the wealth and energy wasted in crusades, dreadnoughts, and armaments will be used to the general betterment of the people. Only Messiah's kingdom can restore man to God's image and make God's footstool glorious. Huss, Wycliffe, Tyndall, etc. The lessons of the past should never be forgotten, but we should cover with a broad mantle of charity much of its wickedness. The church early lost the inspired message and unconsciously adopted the error that the teachings of the bishops were the equivalent in authority of those of the apostles. Through this broad channel, grievous errors swept away precious truths. Lord's old Roman world declares, in the 2nd century there were quiet bishops, intrepid martyrs, who addressed their flocks in upper chambers, and who held no worldly rank. The 3rd century saw the church more powerful as an institution. When Christianity in the 4th century became the religion of the court, it was used to support the very evils against which it originally protested. The clergy, ambitious and worldly, sought rank and distinction. They became lazy, arrogant, and independent. The church was allied with the state, and religious dogmas were enforced by the sword of the magistrates. Fortunately, there are always advanced thinkers on all lines. Such are generally considered fools and persecuted. In reality, they are the greatest benefactors of mankind. Huss suffered for his faithfulness to the Bible. Wycliffe and Tyndall were persecuted. Tyndall's Bible was burned publicly by high ecclesiastics in front of St. Paul's Cathedral, London. Later on, Cranmer, Latimer, and Ridley, once associated with the Roman hierarchy, but subsequently with the English hierarchy, were publicly burned because of their change of faith. In the light of today, we see less difference between the two hierarchies. Both Catholics and Protestants agree in condemnation of the atrocities of the past, perpetrated in the name of our Redeemer, one of whose titles is Prince of Peace, and who admonished, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." Thank God, our mental eyes with clearer light see greater length and breadth and height and depth of love divine. Luther, Zwingli, Melanchthon. Nobody today believes that Martin Luther stepped so fully out in advance of all others that he could be said to have grasped the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Even Lutherans cut 2 of his 95 theses, but wishing to keep the number the same, they divided 2 others. All agree, however, that about the time of Luther, civilization took a step forward. Catholics are better Catholics today, and Protestants better also. Dr. Luther was the head of a Catholic college for the instruction of German youth for the priesthood. He had heard about the Bible, but like others for 13 centuries before him, he trusted in the decisions of the various apostolic councils of the church, the various promulgated creeds. These he believed to be biblical. But one day he chanced to see a Latin copy of the New Testament. His curiosity led him to read it. He was amazed at its simplicity. He wrote the Pope, suggesting the calling of a council to ascertain whether there had been a gradual digression from the Bible. The Pope did not take the suggestion kindly. Luther was branded a heretic, unfrocked, excommunicated. This treatment only convinced him the more of the difference between the Bible methods and teachings and the modern ones. He began to write tracts, which he scattered all over Germany amongst the comparatively few people then able to read in any language. Gradually, through much tribulation, the Bible became more prominent. Those holy, honest-hearted reformers only partially comprehended the Bible. Much of the smoke of superstition and bigotry still affected their mental eyes, nor have we gotten out of the fog yet. Thank God, however, Bible study is reviving, influencing people of every denomination. Let us remember that only the few of old were able to read. A Bible cost a fortune. It was thought useless because of erroneous trust in bishop apostles and their creed.